Jimmy, maybe first off, just talk a little bit about having a chance to finally do this for the first time in what, 3-4 years?
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done it. I think for coaches and management and everybody to see some of the players that we've drafted on ice or in person and work on building those relationships with these kids, and they get to come in and see our environment and see what we're about. I think it's pretty special since we haven't done it in so long, so it's really enjoyable.
Glad you mentioned relationships, because I wanted to ask you about the speech that was making quite an impression on social media. Do you write that yourself, or did you steal some lines there from people?
I don't know. I think when you kind of speak from the heart a little bit, it hits home with some people, or maybe it's easier to speak, but I think it's a really important part with this group of players, because we haven't had a development camp in so long. For these players to come in and be able to talk to each other about where they played, or people they know, common friends and stuff like that. That's what builds relationships, and it's an important part of hockey. What happens in the locker room, and trust and respect, and I just think relationships are really important for players.
What were your first impressions of what you saw today? I mean, it's day one, and obviously there's a lot, still to come. But first impressions, were you favorably enthused with what you saw?
Yeah, I think so. And honestly, I don't think today isn't about any of the on ice or what happens. It's good to be able to be on ice with the players where they're comfortable in their own environment, and you can talk to them about certain things on the ice and stuff, but the on-ice portion is more about teaching the details of the game and really slowing it down, and whether it's skating and working on your edges or things you need to work on in the summertime, if it's passes and cutbacks or certain things that they can take with them when they work on things in the summertime. It's their individual development. It's not systems, it's not X's and O's or anything that happens, about their individual game.
Not to single people out, but you guys have drafted a lot of people with a lot of leadership qualities of late. And when you're getting to watch them build their relationships, do you see some of that come out? Guys are more comfortable helping bring people in?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's one of the big things for us is leadership. I think when you are drafted, you're one of the better players on your team, and you have a natural leadership role from the team you're playing on. So it's easier for those players when they come into an environment like this to talk to kids or talk to coaches or whoever's around and what they're doing. So I think it's important, and hopefully it will bode well from it.
Now to single people out, is there any one or two people that have been shone in terms of bringing people in?
Not really, not yet. I mean, we're, first day on ice. We did, yesterday was kind of physicals and the concussion testing, equipment fitting, everything that we need to do, protocols and stuff to be able to get them on the ice. So I think it's just good to get the players together and in an environment like this where they can bond and do things special together.
Is there anything, Jimmy, in general that stands out, just as someone that's been in the game as long as you have, what kind of today's young athlete is like compared to what maybe this would have looked like even 10, 15 years ago, in terms of the condition these guys are in and just the skill level that they have?
Yeah, I back when I played, there was no development camp, so I don't know. But I really think it is about development. It is about the individual skill level development of players. And when I'm talking skill, I'm not talking about picking up the puck and doing the Michigan play or doing things like that. I'm talking about little things about coming out of corners where you're moving your feet, getting your head up and being able to make a pass on the tape. There's some skilled things that when you do it at a high level, or you do it under pressure, or you're doing it with speed, because as you level up, things get harder and harder and harder, and you have to work on those things. So that's what we're trying to, get kids involved with right now.
I imagine off-ice skills are important as well, right? Dealing with the media, dealing with fans, social media, those are all components which I know you've integrated into what you talked to them about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, media presentations, nutrition presentations, mental wellness, mental preparation, mental strength, the skills side of things. All those are very important. And it's nothing new for a lot of kids. It's about them kind of being their own coach and what they can take away from this to be able to work on it on their own when they get in their own environment, whether if they're back at school or back at junior with the Moose or whatever, and understanding how to develop themselves, because you don't always have a coach there to push you, and you have to learn to do it yourself.
Right. Jimmy, what stood out about Rutgers' growth, not just, I don't mean today, I mean since the time he was drafted to the times you interacted with him and saw him over the course of the year this year?
Yeah, I think at the start he was kind of finding his game and catching up to the speed of the game and understanding what his good qualities were and what he was as a player. And I think it took him a little bit at the start, but I think maybe by what you've seen by the end of the year, he was a big part of that team, and he got up to speed and knew how to use his skills of finding open areas, his release. He's a pretty physically mature kid, how to use his body. As an 18-year-old kid against men, not men at the college level, but bigger, stronger players. So it took him a bit to find his role and what he was doing, but I thought he really excelled at it near the end of the year.
I feel like too, like a guy like him would gravitate naturally to someone like Colby too. You see, like they walking out together and getting to know each other, just with those leadership qualities.
Yeah, maybe. I haven't noticed it much, but I think everybody at this camp is putting in a good effort to put themselves out there with everybody and meet people, and so it's good to see.
Just one on Chaz Lucius. I saw him wearing the yellow. I know he's coming off this shoulder surgery. Is he probably staying in the yellow kind of all week here?
Yeah. It's, this camp isn't about, we don't want anybody coming away from this camp hurt.
Yeah.
It's a teaching camp and a development camp. It's more about him getting ready for the start of the season.
And he had an interesting season last year. Obviously, he started with the Moose and then World Junior, and then back to the Dub, where he was really tearing it up, and then the unfortunate injury. I guess, where do you kind of see him now as we head into this next season?
Well, I think that opportunity for him to go to the WHL and work on the offensive side of his games, where maybe the game has slowed down a little bit and he sees things a little differently, get the opportunity to play more ice time, play a bigger role. I think that was great for his development and growth. And I think we'll hopefully see some more of that next year.
Jimmy, just quickly, whether a player is a first-round pick or a free agent invitee, what do you hope these young men leave this experience this week with?
I hope they can take something from this camp that they can implement in their game, not only on the ice, but off the ice. I tell kids, take a couple things. You're not going to remember everything that was said from every coach, but take a couple things. Use the opportunity to talk to our NHL coaches, talk to our American League coaches, talk to the mental skills coach we have in, talk to myself and Keener, and keep working on these relationships. Take something from it so that you can use that and implement it in your own game. Whether you're a college free agent, whether you're one of our own players, it's something they need to do.
Jimmy, this is your portfolio with the young guys, so in a lot of cases, this is your first introduction to them and then to you.
Yeah. So
after this week is done, how do you kind of follow up with these guys throughout the course of the rest of the summer and maybe into whatever training camps they're going to?
It's phone conversations after development camp with every player, and talk about the camp, what they liked, what they didn't like. I think the feedback is always important for us to make it better every year and what we can do. We ask kids for honesty, and then we give them feedback on what we think we can help them with, and we try and continue that relationship over the summer and into whether they're going to school, whether they're junior, coming back with the Moose, whatever it is. And I think it also makes it, by doing it this time of year, talking to some of the kids, because we haven't had a development camp in so long, coming into training camp, rookie camp, whatever it is, it's a way easier transition. Knowing the trainers, knowing what to expect from the coaches, knowing what we're looking for and how to build up what we've been missing, from these camps in the last 3 years.
Jimmy, just a state of the pipeline question. You had a period with the Jets where you graduated a lot of young guys, obviously, to the big club. It seems like there's a lot of excitement around what you're starting to stockpile here. In net, you've got the OHL goaltenders of the year, got a young kid like Salmonson on the blue line and some other, and now forward, obviously, a number of really high draft picks. How would you assess kind of the state of the overall pipeline right now?
I think it's we've got a great young group of kids that are starting to build relationships, that the opportunities are coming for them more and more as we're, moving up. I don't know how to put that, but it's just a great opportunity for these kids. I see it as a great opportunity for them. I think they do too, with these young players and looking at the chance for them to move forward. I do.
Jimmy, you've had a team that has had a good track record of these guys that have just won something as simple as not simple as Scholastic Player of the Year, but obviously it's something that's turned into, for a lot of guys like Josh and Adam, they've stuck with the club and that sort of thing. But why has that been kind of important for the club to kind of maybe I don't even know if it's a target or not, but.
I don't think it's a target or anything like that, but I think it's a great character trait, and the commitment that you're putting into not only hockey, but your life and your schoolwork, and I just think it's a great character opportunity for those kids.
For a guy like Thomas Milic and Brad Lambert, to win a WHL championship, win a junior championship, go to the Memorial Cup, what benefits does that have for players like that you've seen in the past?
Yeah, understanding how to play under pressure, on a bigger scale. Those experiences not everybody has, and if you've experienced it, it just gives you the advantage the next time you're going through it. And hopefully they can take that experience and how long and how deep they went in the playoffs in the Memorial Cup, and it'll help them down the road, hopefully with us.
You mentioned a couple of times, obviously it's the first time you've done this in a while, but you've taken feedback from guys too, right?
Yeah.
You like to improve the process. So does that mean that there's some tweaks that you're able to make maybe for the first time this time? Like having a couple of years to plan almost.
Yeah. Well, you're always looking to take new things that are out there or what other teams are doing, And it's not like we didn't physically have a development camp, but the last few years we were able to do some things online with kids. We've learned a lot on how we could improve our communication skills with kids now with what's happened over the last few years, I use way more FaceTime and Zoom calls now than I ever did before. So I feel like my relationship is stronger with players than it was my first few years because we've had this ability. There's always positives that you can take from everything you're doing, I guess.
Just one last one from you, Jimmy. Chibrikov, he's a guy, his skill obviously really stands out. He's pretty dynamic out there. What's, I guess, the challenge and the benefit to something like this for a kid who's obviously still getting acclimatized with everything, including just North American life?
Yeah, so not only the on-ice portion where you can, he's a player that we haven't seen live for the last few years, it's been a lot of video and stuff, but he's a player that not only on the ice, but off the ice, how can he improve in the gym? Now we can physically see him and show him areas that he can improve on, whether it's his foot speed or upper body strength, things to maintain a high level overall endurance and conditioning. Those are just some personal things that you can help him with when he comes in a camp like this.
Did you like his shot?
No, I don't think I've seen it. I did hear some cheering out there. Is that the one you're talking about? All right.
Must be nice though to have a guy like Zilkin here who can kind of translate and help out in that.
You know what? But not only that, we've got a lot of great leadership guys out there, which is, you guys talked about it. I think it's pretty cool.